If I told you that the way you sleep tonight could quietly increase your risk of a stroke, would you believe me? Most people think stroke risk only comes from diet, age, or medical history. But here's something most doctors never explain clearly. Your sleeping position can affect your blood flow, oxygen levels, and even the pressure inside the blood vessels in your neck and head. And some positions that feel comfortable can actually put you at higher risk overnight without you ever realizing it. Today, I want to walk you through 7 common sleeping positions that may be silently raising your stroke risk while you sleep, and what to do instead. Let's start with something simple. Your body depends on smooth, steady blood flow to your brain while you're asleep. That means your neck, spine, and arteries need to stay in a position that allows blood to move freely. But certain sleeping positions bend or compress the arteries that supply your brain. When this happens night after night, the risk builds quietly. It doesn't cause pain, so most people have no idea it's happening. They wake up with headaches, dizziness, numbness, or neck stiffness and never connect it to how they slept. One of the biggest troublemakers is sleeping with your neck bent sharply to one side. This often happens when you stack too many pillows or sleep on a very high pillow. Your head may feel supported, but inside your neck, the blood vessels can become compressed. When the carotid arteries or vertebral arteries are squeezed, the brain gets less blood flow. And if you already have plaque buildup or high blood pressure, this position can become dangerous over time. Many people wake up feeling foggy because the brain wasn't getting ideal blood flow all night. Another risky position is sleeping on your stomach with your head turned to one side. This twists your neck for hours, putting uneven pressure on your arteries and causing poor blood circulation to the brain. This position can also reduce oxygen levels and strain the spine. People who sleep like this often wake up with numb arms, tingling fingers, or a pounding headache. All signs the blood and nerves were compressed. Sleeping curled tightly in a fetal position may feel cozy, but it makes it harder for the lungs to expand fully. When your breathing becomes shallow for hours, your oxygen level drops, and low oxygen is one of the hidden stroke risks most people never think about. The brain depends on oxygen to function. Spending the night with reduced oxygen is not harmless. Over time, it affects circulation, blood pressure, and brain health. Another problem is sleeping with your arm under your head. This lifts the shoulder unnaturally, strains the neck, and compresses the arteries and nerves that run to your brain. The numbness people feel in the morning is not just bad circulation. It's a signal that the blood flow to the brain and upper body was interrupted during sleep. Sleeping flat on your back can be risky if you snore or have sleep apnea. When the tongue drops back and the airway narrows, oxygen levels can drop dramatically. Low nighttime oxygen is one of the strongest predictors of stroke risk as the brain keeps getting micro-injuries from poor oxygen supply. Even sleeping on your side can become risky if your pillow collapses or your spine is misaligned. A crooked spine means a crooked neck, and a crooked neck can affect blood flow. The body tries to adjust by tightening muscles around the neck, which increases pressure on the arteries. People with stiff necks in the morning often slept with poor alignment. And finally, sleeping in a recliner or with your head pushed forward is more dangerous than people realize. This position bends the neck and can reduce blood flow to the brain while also increasing pressure on the cervical spine. Older adults who fall asleep sitting up are especially at risk without knowing it. The point is not to scare you, it's to make you aware. Stroke risk doesn't come from big dramatic moments. It builds quietly through small daily habits, including how you sleep. The good news is you can fix this starting tonight. Keep your spine straight. Use a supportive pillow. Avoid twisting your neck. Open your airway. And most importantly, listen to your body. If you wake up with headaches, numbness, dizziness, or stiffness, your sleep position may be sending you early warnings. If this opened your eyes and helped you understand something new about your health, stay connected with me. I share life-saving, science-backed tips every week to help you live better, sleep better, and protect your long-term health. Your body is always giving you clues. We just have to learn how to listen. When you go to sleep at night, you expect your body to rest, repair, and restore itself. But what most people don't realize is that certain sleeping positions can quietly interfere with the most important function happening during the night, delivering steady oxygen-rich blood to your brain. The brain doesn't store oxygen the way other organs do. It depends completely on a constant flow through the carotid and vertebral arteries in your neck. When these arteries become bent, twisted, or compressed because of the way you position your head or neck while sleeping, the blood flow slows down, and when blood flow slows, oxygen delivery drops. Even small changes repeated every night begin to add up over time. The dangerous part is that this reduction in blood flow doesn't cause pain, so you don't wake up in the middle of the night knowing something is wrong. The brain simply receives less oxygen for hours while you sleep, and over time, that can increase stroke risk. What makes this especially concerning is how easily the neck can be compressed without you realizing it. The arteries in your neck sit close to the surface and run through tight spaces surrounded by muscles, bones, and soft tissue. When you sleep with your head turned too far to one side or your pillow forces your chin toward your chest, you create subtle pressure on these arteries. It might not feel uncomfortable, but it's enough to limit how freely blood moves to your brain. If you already have high blood pressure, plaque buildup, stiff arteries, or poor circulation, this added nighttime restriction can make things worse. Many people wake up feeling dizzy, foggy, or unusually tired, and they assume they just had a bad night's sleep. In reality, their sleeping position may have reduced blood flow for long stretches of the night. These small compressions matter because the brain is incredibly sensitive to oxygen changes. Even minor reductions can cause inflammation, raise blood pressure, or stress the blood vessels in the brain. Over months or years, this increases vulnerability. It doesn't cause an immediate stroke, but it raises the likelihood that one could happen, especially in someone with existing risk factors. Sleeping positions that compress neck arteries also strain the muscles around the neck, making them tighten automatically. This muscular tension adds even more pressure on the arteries, creating a chain reaction of reduced circulation. Many people experience morning headaches or sensitivity around the temples because their brain was not getting optimal blood flow while they slept. Another issue is that poor sleeping positions can affect venous drainage, the brain's ability to clear old blood and waste. When the neck is compressed, blood has a harder time leaving the brain. This causes a mild backup effect, adding more pressure to the vessel. For someone with weakened arteries, this nighttime increase in pressure can contribute to long-term vessel damage. It's a small stress repeated every night, and it becomes especially dangerous for older adults or individuals with cardiovascular issues. The lack of symptoms is the most deceptive part. You won't feel artery compression the way you feel a muscle cramp or joint pain. The body quietly tolerates it, and the brain works with whatever blood flow it gets. But over time, that reduced circulation becomes a hidden stressor. This is why understanding the risk matters. You don't need to feel discomfort for damage to be happening. Many people with high morning blood pressure or chronic neck stiffness simply never connect it to their sleeping posture. Recognizing that neck compression happens easily and silently is the first step to protecting your brain overnight. The good news is that small adjustments like proper pillow height, avoiding extreme neck angles, and keeping your spine aligned can immediately improve nighttime blood flow. But awareness comes first. When you understand that your sleeping position directly affects the arteries feeding your brain, you start paying attention to the way you position your head, neck, and spine at night. And those small changes could make a major difference in lowering silent stroke risk long term. Sleeping on your stomach with your head twisted to one side for hours is one of the most underestimated risks when it comes to nighttime blood flow. Yet, it's one of the most common sleeping positions people fall into without thinking. At first, it feels harmless, even comfortable, because it allows you to settle into the mattress and feel supported. But inside your neck, something very different is happening. To breathe while lying on your stomach, your head must turn sharply to the left or right. This twist places constant pressure on the carotid and vertebral arteries, the main pathways that carry blood to your brain. Unlike your muscles, which can tolerate awkward positions for a while, your arteries do not adjust well to compression. When your head stays rotated for long periods, these arteries flatten slightly, reducing blood flow. Even a small decrease repeated night after night can create long-term strain on the brain and increase stroke risk over time. Another issue with stomach sleeping is that it forces the neck into a fixed, unnatural angle. Your spine wants to stay aligned, but this position twists the upper spine in one direction while the lower spine stays straight. This creates tension around the neck muscles, which tighten in response. Tight neck muscles add even more pressure on the arteries running through that area. This combination of twisting and muscular compression is why so many stomach sleepers wake up with tingling hands, numb arms, or a stiff, painful neck. These symptoms are not random. They indicate that circulation and nerve pathways were restricted for hours during the night. Sleeping on your stomach also changes how you breathe. Because your chest is pressed into the mattress, your lungs cannot expand fully. This makes your breathing shallow, reducing the amount of oxygen you take in. When your oxygen levels drop, even slightly, your brain gets less oxygen throughout the night. Low nighttime oxygen contributes to inflammation, higher blood pressure in the brain, and increased stress on delicate blood vessels. Over time, this can make the arteries more vulnerable to damage. The combination of reduced blood flow from the neck twist and reduced oxygen intake from restricted breathing creates a double impact, both of which are known stroke risk factors. In addition to blood flow and oxygen problems, stomach sleeping affects the nervous system. The twisted neck compresses nerves in the cervical spine, leading to poor communication between the brain and the rest of the body. People who sleep like this often report waking up feeling foggy, slow, or strangely tired even after 8 hours of sleep. This groggy feeling is often a sign that the brain was not receiving ideal circulation during the night. Over the years, chronic reduced circulation can contribute to long-term neurological stress. Another reason this position is risky is because it reduces the brain's natural ability to drain metabolic waste. The brain has a cleansing system called the glymphatic system, which works best when the neck is neutral and the head is properly positioned. When your head is twisted, this system becomes less efficient. Poor drainage increases pressure in the head and keeps inflammatory byproducts circulating longer than they should, creating additional strain on the brain. Many people don't realize how significant these small changes can be. They assume the way they sleep has nothing to do with their long-term brain health. But when a position repeatedly compresses arteries, reduces oxygen, strains nerves, and interferes with the brain's nighttime cleanup process, it becomes a quiet risk factor, one that builds slowly but consistently. Sleeping with your neck elevated too high might seem harmless, but it's one of the most common ways people unknowingly reduce blood flow to the brain overnight. Many people stack 2 or 3 pillows because it feels cozy, or they use thick, fluffy pillows that lift the head far above the spine. But when your head is pushed forward or upward like this for several hours, the neck bends sharply. Inside your neck are the carotid and vertebral arteries, the main highways that deliver oxygen-rich blood to your brain. When the neck bends too far, these arteries become partially compressed or kinked. The blood doesn't stop entirely, but it flows less smoothly, less strongly, and less consistently. This reduced circulation may not wake you up, but your brain feels the effects all night long. Some people wake up with a throbbing headache, foggy thinking, or heaviness in the head, and they don't connect it to how they slept. Others feel tension in their neck or shoulders, not realizing that the muscles were straining all night to support a position that wasn't natural for the spine. Too much neck elevation also pulls the jaw downward, tightening the front neck muscles and further restricting the arteries that pass through them. This combination of bent spine, compressed arteries, and tight muscles makes it harder for blood to reach the brain. Over time, this can contribute to a subtle but consistent strain on brain circulation, especially in people with existing risks like hypertension or stiff arteries. Another problem with high pillows is that they interfere with spinal alignment. Your spine is designed to rest in a neutral, straight position during sleep, so the nerves and blood vessels can function normally. When the head is pushed too far forward or upward, the cervical spine curves unnaturally. This not only affects blood flow, but also causes the surrounding muscles to stiffen as they try to stabilize the neck. These tight muscles can press on the vertebral arteries, reducing the flow of blood through them. This is why some people wake up with arm numbness or tingling. The nerves and arteries were slightly compressed throughout the night due to improper pillow height. Sleeping with an elevated neck also affects breathing. When your airway becomes partially compressed because the chin is forced toward the chest, the airflow becomes restricted. You inhale less deeply and take in less oxygen. The brain depends on steady oxygen levels during sleep to repair itself, regulate blood pressure, and clear out toxins. Shallow nighttime breathing is one of the hidden contributors to stroke risk because low oxygen forces the heart and brain to work harder. For people who snore or already struggle with airway issues, a high pillow can make things significantly worse. Over time, these combined effects create a perfect environment for increased stroke risk, reduced blood flow to the brain, reduced oxygen levels, increased inflammation, and vascular stress. These are not dramatic nighttime events. They are small, repeated disruptions that slowly add pressure to the brain's circulation system. A person might never feel pain or discomfort, but every night the brain receives slightly less support than it needs. The solution is simple but powerful. Using a pillow that keeps your neck straight and your head aligned with your spine can dramatically improve circulation and oxygen flow. When your head rests in a neutral position, your arteries stay open, your muscles stay relaxed, and your brain receives the blood and oxygen it needs for safe, restorative sleep. This one change can make a meaningful difference in long-term brain health, especially for anyone worried about stroke risk or morning symptoms. Sleeping positions that restrict your breathing may seem harmless at first, but they quietly create one of the most overlooked stroke risks: low oxygen levels during the night. Your brain needs a steady, uninterrupted supply of oxygen to function and repair itself. When oxygen drops, even slightly, the blood vessels in the brain come under stress. They constrict, pressure rises inside them, and inflammation builds. Over months or years, this repeated nighttime stress becomes a risk factor for serious issues, including stroke. What many people don't realize is that certain sleep positions make restricted breathing almost guaranteed, especially positions that compress the lungs or narrow the airway without you feeling it. One of the biggest examples is the tight fetal position. Curling up tightly on your side may feel comforting and warm, but it limits how much your lungs can expand. When your knees are pulled toward your chest and your shoulders are rounded forward, your rib cage becomes compressed. The lungs cannot fully inflate, causing shallow breathing. While this might not feel dangerous, it means your body is receiving less oxygen with every breath. Over several hours of sleep, this adds up to significant oxygen deprivation. The brain responds by increasing stress hormones and straining the blood vessels as it tries to maintain enough oxygen flow. This is why some people who sleep in a tight curl wake up tired, groggy, or with headaches. Their brain never received optimal oxygen overnight. Sleeping flat on your back can also be risky if you snore or have undiagnosed sleep apnea. When you lie on your back, gravity allows the tongue and soft tissues in the throat to fall backward, narrowing the airway. This creates snoring, or worse, repeated pauses in breathing called apneas. Every time breathing stops, oxygen levels drop. Even if you don't fully wake up, your brain wakes up enough to gasp or force you into a lighter sleep stage. This broken sleep pattern causes inflammation and puts tremendous pressure on the cardiovascular system. People with sleep apnea have a significantly higher risk of stroke because the brain experiences low oxygen hundreds of times per night without warning. Another position that affects breathing is sleeping partially on your stomach or half twisted. In this position, the chest is partially compressed against the mattress, limiting how deeply the lungs can expand. Even a slight restriction in the chest area reduces oxygen intake. You may not snore, but the breathing remains shallow. Over time, this leads to poor nighttime circulation, higher blood pressure upon waking, and more oxidative stress in the brain. The body becomes less efficient at clearing toxins during sleep, leaving the brain more vulnerable to vascular damage. Poor breathing during sleep also affects the brain's glymphatic system, the cleaning system that removes waste from the brain. When oxygen levels are low, this cleaning system slows down, meaning waste products and inflammatory molecules stay in the brain longer. This creates more pressure on the delicate blood vessels, making them more susceptible to damage. People often assume that if they're not gasping or choking during the night, their breathing must be fine. But shallow breathing, restricted airflow, and mild airway narrowing can go unnoticed for years. The only clues are the morning symptoms: headaches, dry mouth, dizziness, a foggy mind, or feeling tired even after a long sleep. These signs indicate that the brain did not get the oxygen it needed to recover, restore, and repair. The way you position your head, neck, and torso plays a major role in how easily air flows through your airway. When your airway stays open, your brain receives consistent oxygen. When it narrows or collapses, the brain suffers. And when this becomes a nightly pattern, the long-term risk grows. Sleeping in positions that misalign the spine or place uneven pressure on the neck and upper body can quietly interfere with the brain's circulation every single night. When someone sleeps with an arm tucked under their head, or when their pillow collapses and leaves their neck bent awkwardly, or when they fall asleep sitting in a recliner with their chin pushed toward their chest, the body is placed in a posture that restricts both nerve function and blood flow. These positions may feel comfortable at first because they provide support or pressure in familiar spots, but internally they create tension, compression, and reduced circulation. Over time, these simple habits can become a hidden contributor to a higher stroke risk because they repeatedly disrupt the brain's access to healthy blood flow and oxygen. Sleeping with your arm under your head or a pillow is one of the most common examples. When you do this, your shoulder lifts and your neck shifts sideways. This might make the head feel supported, but it twists the cervical spine. The nerves that run down the arm and into the hand become compressed overnight, which is why so many people wake up with numb fingers or tingling sensations. But the more important issue is that this neck twist also puts pressure on the vertebral arteries that run through the neck and supply the brain. When these arteries are slightly compressed for hours, the brain receives less blood flow. You might not wake up during the night, but the reduced circulation affects your brain's ability to repair itself and can increase long-term vascular stress. Collapsed pillows create a similar problem. A pillow that flattens during sleep causes the head to fall into a downward angle, bending the neck sharply. This curvature strains the muscles around the neck, forcing them to tighten. The tightened muscles add pressure on the arteries, and the angle of the neck restricts how easily blood can travel to the brain. People who sleep with a worn-out or overly soft pillow often wake up with neck stiffness, headaches, or a heavy feeling in the eyes. These symptoms are small signs that circulation was not optimal during the night. Sleeping in a recliner or with the head pushed forward is even more problematic, especially for older adults. When the chin moves toward the chest, the airway becomes partially blocked, reducing oxygen levels. At the same time, the forward head position compresses the fronts of the neck, putting pressure on the carotid arteries. This combination of low oxygen and restricted circulation creates the perfect storm for nighttime vascular strain. Many older adults sleep in chairs because they find it more comfortable or because they fall asleep watching TV, but this position can silently increase the load on the brain's blood vessels each night. Another factor to consider is how misaligned sleep positions affect the nerves. When the neck or shoulder nerves become compressed, the brain receives feedback that something is wrong but cannot fix the position during deep sleep stages. This leads to muscle spasms, tension, and restricted blood flow. The more often this happens, the more the surrounding tissues adapt to being tight and inflamed, making circulation even harder. Over time, this pattern increases the pressure on the arteries and veins responsible for supplying and draining blood from the brain. Warning symptoms are clues that something was happening inside your body during the night. Waking up with dizziness, numbness, tingling headaches, or a tight neck often points to reduced nighttime circulation. These signs seem small, so people ignore them, but they're the body's way of whispering that the brain was not fully supported while you slept. When these symptoms happen regularly, they indicate that the sleeping position is creating ongoing vascular stress. Small adjustments, like keeping the spine straight, avoiding arm under head positions, and using pillows that support the neck properly, can dramatically reduce this hidden strain. When your alignment is healthy, blood moves freely, nerves stay open, and the brain can rest the way it's meant to. This simple change can significantly lower long-term stroke risk, especially for people who unknowingly sleep in poor positions night after night. So remember, your stroke risk isn't only shaped by what you eat, your age, or your medical history. It's also shaped by what your body experiences every single night while you sleep. The way you position your head, neck, and spine can quietly support your brain or slowly strain it over time. The good news is that small changes make a big difference. A better pillow, a straighter spine, fewer twists in the neck, deeper breathing, and open airways can all protect your brain while you rest. Your sleep should be healing you, not hurting you. If you've been waking up with headaches, numbness, dizziness, or stiffness, take it as your body's early warning, not something to ignore. Listen to those signals and adjust before they grow into something bigger. And if this video opened your eyes or helped you understand your sleep in a new way, stay connected with me. I share simple, life-saving insights every week to help you protect your health naturally. Your brain works hard for you every day. Let's make sure your sleep takes care of it too.